Hello and welcome to another episode of What Gets Captured on Film. This is episode 19. I am your host, Dylan Paulson, and if you're new here, this is a show all about movies and movie news. Each week, I'll break down some of the biggest news stories in the movie industry and give it to you in one convenient place, and I'll let you know what I've been watching this week as well. Hopefully, usually at least, something topical, relevant to whatever news discussion is going on that week. So, this episode is the news, everything from February 2nd through February 8th. And please write into the show at whatgetscaptured@gmail.com. Totally free. You can agree with me, disagree with me. Please write in and I'll read your inquiry live on the show and give some feedback as well. We can have some sort of discussion. So as we start every show, let's start this show by going over the box office results from the previous weekend. So we have a bit of movement here, finally. Spider-Man No Way Home was at number 1 for weeks, and it has finally been dethroned. Well, it was dethroned when Scream came out, but it's been dethroned again. So here we have number 1, Jackass Forever, with $23 million gross revenue domestically. This is all in American money. And number 2, we have Moonfall, the Roland Emmerich directed picture, just under $10 million gross. And then number 3, of course, we have Spider-Man No Way Home with $9.5 million. So not even that far behind the number 2 spot. Number 4, we have Scream. Number 5, we have Sing 2. And pretty far down, number 20, The Worst Person in the World, which we're going to talk about later, opened in 4 theaters. So interesting stuff, not too much movement. I don't think there's really too much to say. I'm happy for Jackass. Good for them. They returned. And as always, there's a bunch of organizations such as PETA and the like, PETA, PETA and the like, that are attacking Jackass for, the bunch of idiotic things they put their stars through. So they're right back on track with where they left off. Nothing's changed there. And good for Moonfall. But also, you would hope that a Roland Emmerich disaster movie would garner a little more than $10 million, domestically. But I just don't think people are looking for that type of movie anymore. And it was a shame because the movie, I actually talked about it. Maybe I mentioned it last week that I didn't see there was a lot of press going on for it, but I did kind of see, this past weekend, quite a big deal of trailers and ad spots and things just out and about. So, and on social media as well. So, maybe that movie will have legs. Maybe it'll come to a streaming service and people will like it. But, that's a flop. $10 million for Moonfall. That movie, that's definitely a flop. So I got a feel for Roland Emmerich there. Feel bad for him. But anyway, let's go through as we are starting to bring into tradition. Let's go over the streaming service top 10 as well, as reported by Nielsen. So this is for Nielsen. Obviously, takes some time to amalgamate their data. So this is not recent, but this is the most recent data that Nielsen's provided. For the week of January 3rd through January 9th, the top 10 movies are as follows. 1, Disney's Encanto. 2, Don't Look Up from Netflix. Number 3, Journey to the Mysterious Island from Netflix. Number 4, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on Netflix. Number 5, The Town on Netflix. Number 6, Just Go With It on Netflix. Number 7, The Lost Daughter on Netflix. Number 8, Dark Shadows on Netflix. Number 9, Moana from Disney. Number 10, Ron's Gone Wrong from Disney. So there you have that. Those are, or that I should say, is what people are watching. So now let's get into the news. And before we get into the biggest headlines, and there are definitely some things that I want to talk about if you've seen the title of the show. But before that, I just wanted to get into a few smaller things first. So Fight Club has had some sort of ongoing debate recently. Well, not so much a debate, but it's been in headlines recently. So Fight Club premiered in Chinese markets recently in theaters, and the ending was altered. The film was released in China recently through Tencent Video, which is a Chinese conglomerate organization known for taking money from the CCP as investments, and has also been investing heavily in the video game industry as well. I'm sure if you are in tune to what's going on in the games industry, you've heard of Tencent. They own a piece of Epic and Apple and a bunch of other companies, Remedy. The original ending of Fight Club had been altered to remove the demolition of the major cities around the world and instead show a splash screen with a message reading, quote, "The police rapidly figured out the whole plan and arrested all criminals, successfully preventing the bomb from exploding. After the trial, Tyler Durden was sent to a lunatic asylum receiving psychological treatment," end quote. However, due to backlash from many parties on social media, including parties from China, the ending was restored. There are still a few minor edits from the original film, notably the lack of sex scenes between Tyler Durden and Marla, but this is far less of a concern when compared to the blatant changing of an ending. This is a win for social media backlash and a lose for Chinese censorship. So I just wanted to bring that up. A lot of news these days can seem like it's doom and gloom, but this was definitely a win for complaining on social media that something, had gone wrong. It definitely did drastically change the theme of the film. I'm sure that David Fincher was not happy about it, but I did actually notice that, what was his name? Chuck Palahniuk, the author of the book Fight Club, kind of chimed in and was like, hey, this is not too far off from what the original ending of the book was. I did read the book, and I don't necessarily remember whether or not that ending where Tyler goes to the insane asylum, I don't remember if that's how it ended. I do remember there being a lot of changes from the book to the movie. I don't know. Overall, I thought I think the movie's obviously great. Like a classic movie. It really is. It's a sign of the time. It's such a 90s movie, and it's good. It's really important. Even if you know what the twist is, I would say still go watch it. It's got a lot to say about society and materialism and consumerism. It's a really good, important movie. And the book is good too. Pretty enjoyable. I don't consider myself a connoisseur of books, but I read it because I liked the movie and I enjoyed the book as well. So, but that's all I have to say. Just wanted to bring that up as sort of a hurrah for people. Hurrah, people. Okay. So next up, the PGA, not the Golf Association, but the Producers Guild of America and Google are partnering together to give away two $50,000 grants each to aspiring filmmakers for use on production in a short film. You can enter, and you don't have to be a union member, and I encourage everyone who is an aspiring director, actor, producer, writer to apply within. So feel free to Google that, look it up. Please do. If you have dreams and if you're serious, and that is a huge grant that can really, put your dreams to good use. And also remember, if you do happen to be the winner of the grant, don't spend all the money on production. You're going to need a lot of money for production, but you're going to need a lot of money to market the short film, and you're going to need money to release it. You can't just, spend all the money on production and then you have this movie and no one's going to watch it. So there's my 2 cents for you. Next up, Netflix released a trailer for a bunch of upcoming original films they have on the horizon for 2022. It was sort of like this splash screen type. It was like a 2-minute long, here's the cool type of stuff you can look forward to if you stick with Netflix. And we saw some things from Adam Sandler's upcoming Hustle, which was filmed in Philadelphia. My casting agency did all the local casting for it. And we saw a brief little image of Knives Out 2, which was the whole reason why this got put on my radar. Knives Out definitely perks up the ears for me. It's a great movie. And Ryan Johnson's returning, and he's great too. So yeah, that's there if you want to look at it. I didn't really think it was anything interesting to me. I thought it was just like a waste of time, and it's just like a reason. this is just something that Netflix will throw out and just be like, don't cancel your subscription, please. We're begging you, please don't. So that's that. So if you are on the fence about canceling your subscription and you want to know whether or not to, I say honestly, just do it. Who cares? But if you're on the fence, just watch that. Okay, so that's all the small things by Blink-182. Just kidding, but not. What am I watching this week? I watched one movie this week, and I was going to go to theaters. I kind of ran out of time, and so I was going to go to theaters and see Licorice Pizza, but stay tuned for that next week. Definitely going to make time to see it this week after work one night. But what I did happen to see, I had some time, and I was like, oh, why don't I, look on Netflix for some sort of movie that is, being talked about right now, an awards movie maybe. What can I find? And I found this really awesome, creative, unique, family-friendly movie called The Mitchells versus the Machines. And let me just look up the writers and directors real quick. So it's directed by Mike Rianda, written by Mike Rianda and Jeff Rowe. It's from the studio. It's from this, Sony Pictures Animation. The studio did the 2 Lego movies, and they did most recently Into the Spider-Verse, and they're returning to do the Spider-Verse sequels as well. So the talent here is crazy, and it's just kind of bonkers that this movie isn't getting the same type of wide spread love that the Lego movies did, and especially Spider-Verse did. In short, it's about this, kind of dysfunctional family. It centers on this girl in the dysfunctional family, the daughter, and she's about to go away to college, and then they find themselves in the midst of this robotic apocalypse spurred on by a corporation similar to an Apple type corporation. And it, front to back, from beginning to end, blew me away. I was laughing out loud by myself in my apartment alone. I cried at the end. Every single emotional beat, almost every scene in the movie, every actor, every bit of writing was so intimate and detailed and unique and creative. I can't say enough good things about this movie. Really cannot. I wrote down a few things so I can get into the kind of the intimate details of what I think about it. But, top down, 30,000 feet, this is one of my favorite movies of the year, bar none. It is certainly a family-friendly movie and kind of geared toward kids, potentially. But because, it's kind of in your face. It's kind of really loud. It's bright and colorful, and there's always something crazy going on screen. But man, is it just so good, and just really captured me, just really got me, and was not expecting to have such a connection to the movie. And it really is, bar none, seriously, one of my favorite movies of the year. So, a few things. So first, a couple notes here. Abby Jacobson, who you'll know from Broad City, is cast as the main character, the daughter in the family. Perfect casting. She has a great voice for voice acting, which I never really realized until watching this, and she's great. She kills it. She brings so much life and joy to the movie. What a great performance. And I, when watching Broad City, couldn't imagine Abby by herself bringing a role to life and carrying the whole movie on her shoulders. And she did it seemingly effortlessly. It really was a great role. She really brought that character to life. Great, like so much props to her. So many props. Next, the art style, obviously very beautiful. This comes from Sony Pictures Animation, who's hot right now. They won the Oscar a couple years ago for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And The Mitchells versus the Machines is also up. We'll talk about this later, but it's also up for Best Animated Feature against Disney's Encanto, which I haven't seen, but it would be cool if Mitchells versus the Machines won again. I mean, this movie is really, really top notch, but I haven't seen the Disney Pixar movie this year, so. But yeah, great art style. Surprising no one, but it needs to be said. The emotional core of the movie is kind of we were talking about last week, the concept versus story. I'll just go over this real quick again. The story is what the movie is ultimately about, taking away all the uniqueness of the movie and the fleshing out of what is going on. And the concept is where that story lives. So the story here is a daughter that feels disconnected from her family, trying to feel reconnected to her family, and a father that's trying to reconnect with their daughter. That's the story. But the concept that the story lives is in the robotic apocalypse spurred on by this Apple-like corporation. So the emotional core of the story, even though it's, obviously been done before, that isn't necessarily unique, but it's so strong because the writing is so detailed. It's so intimate. It's like when you read a good book and every line has some sort of very specific, unique, intimate detail about a person or a person's personality. It's like that, but brought to life in a very colorful, vibrant environment. It's great. And sets this disconnect between a daughter and her father in this world that is so strong, and it grounds it because even though the robotic apocalypse is kind of, crazy out there concept, maybe not by the standards that we live in now, but they're constantly joking about it. It's laugh out loud funny. Seriously, it's so funny, and it's so strong. The writing is so strong. That's pretty much the note. I don't know how much I could say about it without going into specific scenes, but I don't really want to spend all the time to do that. Yep, I mentioned that. Okay, yeah. So the only thing, there are a few minor things I want to say, but I really could praise this movie over and over and over again. But a few things that I wanted to say that bring this movie back from being one of the greatest movies of all time, seriously, is that there were a few pacing issues in the second act, and specifically in the first half of the second act, right after the first act break. The movie just kind of eases into itself a little ineloquently. It just kind of has all this pacing and all this growth and development, and then it just kind of hits a wall. A little unfortunately, and it's only for one scene. It's only for 2 to 3 minutes, but because the rest of the movie is so high energy, and it really is, it's full 2-hour movie, so high energy, that those few scenes, two scenes maybe, where it's lower energy, they really stand out. And it's a shame. It's a shame because there's so much emotional storytelling when the movie is high energy that, if they had maybe a little more time, or maybe someone else was brought into the story, or, something else happened, that they could find a way to make those few scenes also high energy. That's all I had to say about that one. It's just a shame. Really, really upset me because the rest of the movie was just so good. And so each character has, this is not something we've talked about on the show before, but main characters that develop over time have emotional flaws in them. You call them other things, but they are things that is intrinsic to a character that will grow and develop over time to turn them into a better or worse person. In terms of the story that we have here, again, concept versus story. In terms of the story that we have here, the daughter's emotional flaw is that she doesn't connect with her father. The father's emotional flaw is the same thing, doesn't connect with the daughter, excuse me. The mother's emotional flaw here is that she is worried that her family doesn't seem like the perfect family. But the younger brother's emotional flaw is that he likes dinosaurs and that he has a crush on a girl. And I didn't really think twice about this until the end of the movie when all of the emotional flaws are being brought to light again and corrected and are being made whole. The flaws are becoming, character traits instead of where they start at the beginning of the movie where it's, something amiss in the character, that when the writers go to fix each one of the family members' emotional flaws, it's really emotional and really strong and poignant and cool and high energy. And then they get to the brother, the youngest son, and it's just kind of like, oh, he likes dinosaurs and he has a crush on a girl. It's like, it's kind of mediocre compared to how emotionally driven the other characters were. It was just kind of like, oh, that was, maybe you could have done something a little more with that. Because the emotional flaw with him in the beginning, you're meant to believe that, I didn't even realize this until right now, you're meant to believe that he's going to miss his older sister when she goes away to school. But that is never really confronted at the end of the movie when she goes to school. That's never really brought up again. He never gets over that. They never have like this big ultimate moment like the daughter has with the father and the mother. It just doesn't happen that same way. So it's not, that just like isn't as resonant, unfortunately. But what I do want to say otherwise is that the conclusion of the film and the resurrection of the emotional flaws within the other characters and the overall emotional flaw of the family itself as a whole, the fulfillment of that in terms of the plot at large is so emotionally resonant that that I don't even know. Like, this movie it's caught me so off guard how resonant it was and how much I related to it. I feel like it's an easy movie to relate to. It's like for kids and for families, but here I am, an adult man, and I'm in tears in this movie. I thought it was so. It just captured me right away from the very beginning, and I just couldn't. I could never detach myself from it. Really, it was just wonderful. A really, really great movie. And then the last thing I just wanted to say is that this, along with Don't Look Up from Netflix, have corporations and politics and a lot of things that are topical today that are being the villains in the movie, the antagonists, and I am so here for it all the way, all the time. Please keep that coming. I like that. Let's keep the antagonists as the corporate people. Let's, keep that coming. That's good shit. But that's it. That's what I thought about Mitchells versus the Machines. And that was the only movie I watched this week that I want to talk about. So, so we'll touch on that a little later anyway. So yeah, but let's get into the news. These are the biggest news stories of the week, and no surprise here. Number one, today's the day. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has released the full list of nominees for the biggest award show of the year, the 94th Annual Academy Awards. The nominees are as follows, and yes, I am going to read them all. Best Picture is Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Best Director, the nominees are Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog, Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. Best Actor, Javier Bardem for in Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth. Best Actress, Jessica Chastain in The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman, Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart in Spencer. A lot of people were talking about that nominee for Kristen Stewart as Spencer was kind of a surprise because she wasn't in the BAFTAs or the SAG Awards. And I agree, that was a surprise. So good for her for getting that nominee. Definitely good for her. Best Supporting Actor, Ciarán Hinds for Belfast, Troy Kotsur for Coda, Jesse Plemons, The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons, Being the Ricardos, Cody Smith-McPhee, The Power of the Dog. Best Supporting Actress, Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, Judi Dench for Belfast, Kirsten Dunst, The Power of the Dog, and Anjanae Ellis for King Richard. Best Original Screenplay, Belfast, written by Kenneth Branagh, Don't Look Up, by Adam McPhee, King Richard by Zach Baylin, Licorice Pizza by Paul Thomas Anderson, The Worst Person in the World by Eskil Vogt and Joachim Trier. Sorry about that. Best Adapted Screenplay, Coda by Sion Heder, Drive My Car by Ryusuke Hamaguchi and Takamasa Oe, Dune by John Spates, Denis Villeneuve, and Eric Roth, The Lost Daughter by Maggie Gyllenhaal, The Power of the Dog by Jane Campion. Best Animated Feature Film, Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, which should win, but I haven't seen anything else, and then Raya and the Last Dragon. Best International Feature Film, Drive My Car from Japan, Flea from Denmark, The Hand of God from Italy, Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom from Bhutan, The Worst Person in the World from Norway. Best Documentary Feature, Ascension, Attica, Flea, Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, and Writing with Fire. Best Documentary Short Subject, Audible, Lead Me Home, The Queen of Basketball, 3 Songs for Benazir, When We Were Bullies. Best Live Action Short Film, Ala Kachu, The Dress, The Long Goodbye, On My Mind, Please Hold. Best Animated Short Film, Affairs of the Art, Becia, Box Ballet, Robin, The Windshield Wiper. Best Original Score, Don't Look Up, Dune, Encanto, Parallel Mothers, The Power of the Dog. Best Original Song, Be Alive from King Richard, Dos Oruguitas from Encanto, Down to Joy from Belfast, No Time to Die from No Time to Die, Somehow You Do from 4 Good Days. Best Sound, Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story. Best Production Design, Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Best Cinematography, Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Coming to America, very interesting nominee there. Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. Best Costume Design, Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story. Best Film Editing, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, The Power of the Dog, Tick, Tick, Boom. Best Visual Effects, Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home. And there you go. There's Spider-Man No Way Home's only Oscar nominee. But wow, that was longer than I thought it would take. I might not read everything for the BAFTAs. I might only read the few top ones. But, yeah. Yep. Isn't that cool? This is the day we've been waiting for, kind of. I mean, here we go. I mean, these are the best movies of the year, if you didn't have any inclination of what they would be, because I've been reading the WGAs and the PGAs and the SAG Awards over and over again for you. But, so, this is what was to be expected. These are the movies I feel like I've been talking about and been hearing about forever recently. So let me just go through. I'm going to go through the big 5, and actually I want to go through a few of them. Let me go through a few of the bigger ones, and I'm just going to make some light predictions. I'm not going to, keep track of them, just what comes off the cuff. Just make a few predictions based on what I've seen again. So let me just maybe I'll make like some sort of official prediction list later, but right now I'm just going to, right off the cuff, who do I think is going to win? Best Picture, based on what I've seen and based on what I know people are talking about, I think The Power of the Dog is going to win. Best Director, I haven't really seen anything here except for Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog, so I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that or Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car. Best Actor, I'm going to say Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom. Best Actress, I'm going to say Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter. Best Supporting Actor, I'm going to say Troy Kotzer for Coda. Best Supporting Actress, I'm going to say Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter. Best Original Screenplay, I'm going to say... I don't know, because I'm sure Licorice Pizza is probably really good. I'm going to say The Worst Person in the World is going to win. That seems like an out-of-place one for me, so if enough people voted for it enough so it would get nominated, it must be really good. So I'm going to say The Worst Person in the World. But, yeah, that's probably what I'll say. That or maybe Licorice Pizza. I don't know. I haven't seen either of those movies. Best Adapted Screenplay, I want to say Coda, but Drive My Car is in that category. Drive My Car is going to win. Unfortunate because, The Power of the Dog is in that too. That could win too. I don't think The Lost Daughter is going to win. I really don't think Dune is going to win. It's a shame because Coda is a really good screenplay, as I was talking about last week or the week before when I reviewed that movie on the show, but it's just not. Based on what else is in that category, Drive My Car and The Power of the Dog and The Lost Daughter and Dune, it's just not. That's just not going to happen, unfortunately. So what do I think is going to win? Probably Drive My Car, and if not, The Power of the Dog. And that's kind of it. That's all I want to talk about. Best Animated Feature. Again, this was kind of like, I really want the Mitchells versus the Machines to win. Even after I watched it last night, I was like, damn, I want it. I really want it to get a Best Picture nod, but it's just not the kind of movie to do that. And there were a few issues with it I had with it that were significant. A movie that has significant pacing issues in the second act is not going to get nominated for Best Picture. But you're really good. Doesn't dilute or diminish the quality of the movie at all or how I felt with it. I definitely was, I definitely felt connected to it otherwise. So that's it. Those are the Academy Award nominations, and those are my preliminary whatever it's called, however you want to say, predictions on what's going to happen. As far as the timeline for voting is concerned, the mailers from production companies have been sent out to eligible union members for voting purposes. The voting for winners will begin on Thursday, March 17th, and conclude on Tuesday, March 22nd. And finally, the award ceremony will be held on Sunday, March 27th, 2022. Number 2, the British Academy Film Awards, or the BAFTAs, announced their nominees for the 75th ceremony this week. This prestigious award show is held in a similar vein to the Oscars. The best of the best, and winning an award should be held in the highest regard. The nominees are as follows. I'll just read the big ones. Best Film, Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog. Best Director, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion, The Power of the Dog. Audrey Diwan for Happening, Julianne Ducarano for Titan. Oh, that won the Palme d'Or this year, I think. Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Aleem Khan for After Love. Best Actor in a Leading Role, Adil Akhtar for Ali and Ava, Mahershala Ali for Swan Song, Benedict Cumberbatch, The Power of the Dog, Leonardo DiCaprio, Don't Look Up, Stephen Graham, Boiling Point, Will Smith, King Richard. Best Actress in a Leading Role, Lady Gaga, House of Gucci, Elena Haim, Licorice Pizza, Amelia Jones, Coda, Renate Riensvi for The Worst Person in the World, Joanna Scanlon, After Love, Tessa Thompson for Passing. Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Mike Face, West Side Story, Ciarán Hinds, Belfast, Troy Kotzer, Coda, Woody Norman, Come On, Come On, Jesse Plemons in The Power of the Dog, Cody Smith-McPhee, The Power of the Dog. Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Catriona Balfe in Belfast, Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, Ann Dowd in Mass, Anjani Ellis in King Richard, and Ruth Negga in Passing. Best Adapted Screenplay, Coda, Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, The Power of the Dog. Best Original Screenplay, Being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard Licorice Pizza. Those are pretty much the same things as what we were talking about earlier. There were a few other things. Titan is in the mix. Happening is in the mix. After Love is in the mix here. And pretty notably, a lot of people are going to want to talk about this. Lady Gaga is in the mix here as well for House of Gucci. So kind of a shame. I saw a couple articles being written about that too. Kind of a shame that Lady Gaga didn't get the nominee for the Oscars, but that is the way the cookie crumbles. She can, go party it up at the BAFTAs. I didn't see that movie. I have no idea if her performance is warranted or not. But, some people think it's good. The Europeans think it's good. So it's not like her performance is being overshadowed by some sort of other, I don't know. Her performance is getting the recognition that it deserves. She's getting award nominations. I don't know what else you could ask for. Just because she didn't get the Oscars nominee doesn't mean that her performance is anything less than great. Okay, let's move on. Number 3. Disney and Pixar released a full-length first trailer for animated Toy Story spin-off Lightyear this week via Pixar's official YouTube channel. The trailer gives more depth to the plot of the film than that of the first teaser released a few months back. Chris Evans is voicing iconic and titular Buzz Lightyear, replacing the longtime familiar voice of Tim Allen from the original films. Joining the cast are the voices of Keke Palmer, Dale Soules, Taika Waititi, Peter Sohn, Uzo Aduba, James Brolin, and others. The film will be directed by... this will be the Pixar directorial debut for longtime employee and animator Angus MacLane, and the film is written by Pete Docter, writer and director of earlier Pixar films such as Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, and Soul. Lightyear will be released theatrically on June 17th, 2022. So as always, with trailers that I'm interested in and curious about, I have not watched this yet. This came out earlier today. It came out like 2 or 3 hours ago from when I'm recording this. I'm going to pause, watch it, give you my immediate thoughts. BRB. So there could be something in this movie that is really cool and really unique and really fun and uplifting, but I'm not getting anything from the trailer. To me, the only good thing that I'm seeing here is that I thought that, and this is why I put this line in the write-up, is that I thought that Tim Allen, the absence of Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear would be jarring. I got used to Chris Evans' voice by the end of the trailer. I was just like, okay, this is, it's fine. Because Buzz Lightyear looks a little different here. He's like a person. It's like this movie is like, looks like it's setting out to be the adventure that the toy Buzz Lightyear would go on if Buzz Lightyear was a real person. So, but I gotta still say, and I said this when the first teaser came out, that I don't know who this movie is for. The kids that watched Toy Story are my age now and older. Toy Story 4 did not have the same emotional resonance as the first 3 did. The series definitely should have ended with Toy Story 3. I think Toy Story 4 was a gross... It was cashing in on a franchise, was what it was. And it wasn't good. There was no clear emotional resonance. I thought it was rushed out the door. I thought it was shit out by Disney. It was bad. It was bad. It was not good. And what I'm seeing here is Pixar is losing all sense of what made Toy Story interesting. I don't know how Buzz Lightyear can be interesting without Woody, without the rest of the toys. I don't see it. I don't see this interesting. This just looks like a space movie, but this looks like Disney's in space, starring an astronaut that is just so happened to be called Buzz Lightyear. I really am not seeing it. But that being said, the guy that wrote and directed the first Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, and Soul is writing this movie. So there could be something truly special here. He could be working on this. He could have been working on the script for 6 to 8 years Could have been working on the script for 3 months. Who knows? Not that working on a script for a long period of time is an indication of quality. It certainly is not. But there's really nothing else to do except say, we'll see. We'll see you in summer. We'll see you on June 17th, 2022. It's all I can say. I'm really not looking forward to it. Really am not. But let's move on. That's all the big stories. Here's the wrap up of a bunch of small news stories that I don't think deserve a piece of conversation. Paramount and Spyglass announced they greenlit another Scream sequel with the same creative team in place. Sony announced that Dakota Johnson would be playing Madame Web in the new Spider-Man spin-off film. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Emily Jerome will adapt the fraternity thriller novel Among the Bros for Sony. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Margaret Qualley and Paul Mescal are set to star in Amazon's mystery thriller The End of Getting Lost. Multiple sources are reporting that Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Chloe Grace Moretz are set to star in White Knight, a thriller about the Jonestown People's Temple cult. Deadline reports that Guy Ritchie's next movie has begun filming in Spain with Jake Gyllenhaal starring. I think I reported on that a little while ago. Multiple sources report that Rosamund Pike is set to star in pandemic-focused thriller Rich Flu. This comes from the European film market. Aaron Eckhart is set to star in thriller Muzzle. Deadline reports that Anthony Mackie and Priyanka Chopra Jones are set to star in action film Ending Things. Deadline reports that Ernie Hudson joins the cast of Special Olympics film Champions. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Dane DeHaan will join Christopher Nolan's already stacked cast lineup for upcoming biopic Oppenheimer. Lionsgate announced it got the distribution rights to Michael Jackson biopic Michael from producer Graham King. Another thing from the European film market, Chris Pine is making his directorial debut with heist film Pool Man. With Patty Jenkins and Stacey Sher producing, Pine will star with Annette Bening and Danny DeVito also starring. And that is all the news. So let's end this episode, as we always do, with what is going to come out in theaters this weekend, according to IMDb. A lot of times this has been wrong. I'm kind of looking for another way to figure out what's coming out this weekend. But here we go. What's new this weekend? Death on the Nile comes to theaters this weekend. While on vacation on the Nile, Hercule Poirot, I don't know, I haven't seen the first movie, must investigate the murder of a young heiress, directed by Kenneth Branagh, starring Tom Bateman, Annette Bening, Kenneth Branagh, and Russell Brand. Blacklight comes to theaters this weekend. Travis Block is a government operative coming to terms with his shadowy past. When he discovers a plot targeting U.S. citizens, Block finds himself in the crosshairs of the FBI director he once helped protect. Directed by Mark Williams, starring Liam Neeson, Aidan Quinn, Taylor John Smith, and Emmy Revere Lampman. Catwoman Hunted comes to theaters this weekend. I think this is an animated film. Follows Catwoman in an attempt to steal a priceless jewel. This puts her squarely in the crosshairs of both a powerful consortium of villains, Interpol, and Batwoman. Okay. Directed by Shinsuke Terasawa, starring Stephanie Beatrice, Jonathan Banks, Lauren Cohen, and Elizabeth Gillies. Marry Me comes to theaters this weekend. Music superstar Kat Valdez and Bastion are getting married before a global audience of fans. But when Kat learns seconds before her vows that Bastion has been unfaithful, she decides to marry Charlie, a stranger in the crowd, instead. Directed by Kat Coiro, starring John Bradley, Jennifer Lopez, and Owen Wilson. The Devil's Light comes to theaters this weekend. A nun prepares to perform an exorcism and comes face to face with a demonic force with mysterious ties to her past. Directed by Daniel Stamm, starring Virginia Madsen, Nicholas Ralph, Colin Salmon, and Christian Navarro. And finally, Those Who Walk Away comes to theaters this weekend. After Max and Avery meet on a social media app for a first date, they end up at a haunted house, only to realize the trauma they share may either save them or erupt them into an unforgettable nightmare. Directed by Robert Ripberger, starring Boo Boo Stewart, Nils Allen Stewart, Scarlett Sperduto, and Bryson John Steele. And that's everything I have for you this week. Well, if you've made it this far, thanks for making it this far. I'm very excited about all the movies that are up for the Oscar nominees. I have until March 27th to watch them all. And then maybe after I watch all the big ones, I want to try and see King Richard. Licorice Pizza, look out for that next week. I'm going to go see that in theaters this week. Tragedy of Macbeth, I'm going to go see. It's on Apple TV Plus. And a few others that I want to go see. Drive My Car, definitely. And yeah, hopefully I'll have some sort of major predictions thing. Maybe we'll do that the week before the Oscars. So, thanks for listening. My name's Dylan Paulson. This was What Gets Captured on Film, episode 19, I think. So, yeah, see you next week, Wednesdays at 9 on your local podcast services. I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.